How do you find Jesus hidden in your daily life? St. Thérèse of Lisieux considered this question and reflected on how Christ's hidden glory helps us to see his face in a new light. While his eyes look on us from heaven, we see his tears falling from the eyes of those suffering on earth. St. Therese wrote,
O face more beautiful than the lilies and roses of springtime, you are not hidden from our eyes. The tears that veil your divine look seem to us like precious diamonds, which we want to collect to buy the souls of our brothers and sisters with their infinite value.
These lines were written as part of a consecration to the Holy Face composed by St. Therese for herself and 2 other nuns of the Lisieux Carmel. Each prayed the act and dedicated herself to contemplating Christ's countenance on the Feast of the Transfiguration in 1896. In the words of the prayer, St. Therese expressed the desire she and her sisters had not only to one day see Jesus face to face, but also to console his tears shed for the forgetfulness and irreverence of sinners. They ask to receive his love, but only so that they may offer it back to him, to satisfy his desire for our love, on behalf of those who do not return what he so freely gives. The timing and circumstances of St. Therese's consecration are notable in considering the depth of her prayer. The Feast of the Transfiguration, on which the Church commemorates the Gospel account of Jesus' glory being revealed to Saints Peter, James, and John, must have been a poignant day for Therese in 1896. In April of the same year, St. Therese experienced the onset of the tuberculosis, from which she would die the next year. Coinciding with her illness, St. Therese had entered into her self-described trial of faith in manuscript C of the Story of a Soul, written in the summer of 1897, over a year after her trial began. Therese described entering into this interior darkness.
He permitted my soul to be invaded by the thickest darkness, and that the thought of heaven, up until then so sweet to me, be no longer anything but the cause of struggle and torment. This trial was to last not a few days or a few weeks. It was not to be extinguished until the hour set by God himself, and this hour has not yet come.
So we gained some insight into St. Therese's interior state as she was writing her prayer and then consecrating herself to the Holy Face, knowing that she was ill and facing constant doubts about eternity. She chose the day when Jesus' glory was revealed by the Father in a dazzling light to recommit herself, longing to see Jesus' face in the midst of her own darkness. The consecration sentiment of Jesus not being hidden thus becomes an evocative act of faith, culminating in what could be considered an epiphany.
O Jesus, your veiled gaze is our heaven.
With these words, St. Therese concluded her consecration and committed herself to seeking Jesus in his hiddenness. She realized that though he is hidden, Jesus is never absent, but seeking to be seen in a different way. This is a calling common to everyone, but how can we go about it? To see someone's face is to see an important aspect of that person's individuality and identity. It is in looking someone in the face that we acknowledge them before us. We see a part of their story in the creases formed by many smiles, or in the lines of long sadness, in the wrinkles of age, and in every other facial feature. Each gives us an idea not only of where someone has come from and what they have seen, but of their very being, of their personhood. St. Thérèse of Lisieux sought to know Jesus by looking at his face as a source of devotion and deeper love for him, even when she felt furthest from his love. In the darkness of her trial of faith, when thoughts of heaven and eternity were difficult to the point of causing her to suffer, Therese recognized that she was feeling what those who genuinely lack or even reject faith must experience, a sense of despair. Yet she did not succumb to this, but rather used it as a reason to offer herself to grow in love for the sake of her brothers and sisters, most spiritually in need of knowing God's love for them. This helped her to recognize the holy face of Jesus in a new way, whereas in some souls his presence is made evident in its luminosity, in the glory of the Transfiguration. In others, Jesus makes himself known through the tears of his passion, when he took all of human suffering upon himself. Like Saint Therese, our prayers can often seem unmet, and we can feel lost and confused in our spiritual lives. It is in this darkness of faith that we try to make out Jesus' face. While we hope to one day see Christ's holy face in the light of his glory, as at the Transfiguration, until then, we must realize that he waits for us behind a veil of tears, in the faces of our brothers and sisters in need. Jesus tells us in St. Matthew's Gospel, "Whatever you did for one of these least brothers of mine, you did for me." And so we can be confident that we are helping him when we help others who are suffering or in poverty of any kind, even if he is unrecognizable to us. The pains and trials we experience can darken our outlook on life or on others with a cynicism, which encourages us to look the other way when we encounter others' needs. Yet, just as the flowers of springtime bloom, as the roses and lilies come to brighten and enliven the dreariness of winter, and beckon us to stop and look at them with more than a passing glance, Jesus, through his passion, brings the light of his face into the darkness of human suffering, and so, in a sense, transfigures it into an expression of his own likeness, shining through others and calling us to love. As the prologue to St. John's Gospel so beautifully says, "The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." In Jesus' face, we see the light of love's fire, shining in the darkness, and leading us to share in that same love, to look with real love on, and so to desire the good for those we see suffering, to see the faces of those who are least in the eyes of the world, is to look into the suffering eyes of Christ. The tears of our suffering brothers and sisters, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, are the tears of Christ in his agony. When we seek to soothe those tears, we have an opportunity to lift the veil and gaze in faith upon Jesus, who is love.